Class, today we are continuing our unit on mindfulness by looking at what it means to be empathetic. We're going to read a book together called Stay Engaged, Practicing Empathy. Okay, stay engaged, practicing empathy. Reach out. Okay, this is the same blurb they had in the beginning of the last book we read. Learning to overcome negative thoughts and stay mindful is not the same as fighting depression. Do you feel overwhelmed by sadness? Remember, you matter. You are not alone. If you need help, reach out. Talk to an adult you love and trust. This could be a teacher, a school counselor, or family member. Make an appointment with your doctor. Seek professional help. Or call the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline at 1-800-273-8255. Someone is available to talk with you 24 hours a day, every day. Hopefully nobody's feeling that low, but just in case. Okay, introduction. Have you ever felt sorry for someone? Have you ever cried because you saw another person cry? People have emotions. Emotions are feelings. People get hurt, they feel pain, they need support, they need people who can understand them. Empathy means you can feel another person's emotions. It means you understand where a person is coming from. It means you can see things from different sides. This book gives you tips on how to be mindful. Mindful means being aware. It means taking care of your body and mind. Take a moment. Practice having empathy. Just breathe. Tip. Choose to show empathy. Do this by sharing in the other person's feelings. Chapter 1. Listen actively. Now we went over an active listening section when we're learning about the sense of hearing. So this will be a little refresher. To have empathy, you must listen. Being a good listener is an important skill. Active listening is not easy to do. Pay attention. Be fully present. Focus on the moment. Try not to be distracted. Listen. Check your biases. A bias is favoring an idea over another based on feelings. When people are biased, they might not give another idea an equal chance. Ask yourself, do I have an open mind, or have I already made up my mind? Am I ready to listen to the whole story? Do I really want to understand, or do I just want to share what I think? So an example of this would be, like, imagine somebody is talking about something they're really passionate about. Like, Axel is going on and on about his favorite Sonic the Hedgehog game, right? Well, let's say that Isabella is listening to this, and she likes Rayman Legends. So she's not even paying attention, because she's like, Rayman Legends is the best game, right? You might not be listening to all the great things that Axel is saying about Sonic the Hedgehog. So you don't want to have that bias. You want to keep your mind open and learn about other games. And it's not just about games though, but it's about other things people might be talking about. If you have your own opinions and you don't want to listen to even what they're saying, that's not being empathetic. Okay. Tip: talk to a friend. Practice active listening. Ask questions. Summarize your talk. By the way, I'm not saying that Isabella wouldn't listen to Axel. I'm sure that we all have empathy in this class. It's just a hypothetical scenario. Okay, first, listen and connect. Make eye contact and sit close. Let people talk. Don't interrupt. Interrupt means to cut in before it's your turn. Second, listen and reflect. Repeat what the speaker is saying. Say, what am I hearing? Third, listen and affirm. Affirm means to support. Let the speaker know you're listening. Nod your head. Honor the speaker's feelings. Ask, are you feeling ... Fourth, listen and encourage. Ask questions. Thank the speaker for sharing. Tip, know that people always change. Don't hold on to grudges. Real life scenarios. Life is full of adventures. There will be challenges. Things happen. Make good choices. These are some events you could face. Your best friend's parents are getting a divorce. Your best friend is really sad. She's crying. How does this make you feel? How can you connect to your friend? How can you be a better listener? You're playing a sports game. People are picking teams. You see a classmate get picked last. How do you think this person feels? What can you do to make the person feel better? Okay, why don't you choose one of these scenarios and write your answer in the comment below where I posted this assignment, okay? So you could either talk about your friend parents getting a divorce. You could talk about a classmate who gets picked last in a ball game. How would you make them feel better, right? Or number 3, you see a new kid at school. How would you feel if you were the new kid? What would you do? How can you make the new kid feel more welcome? Okay, so you could answer any one of these 3 questions. Chapter 2. See another side. Empathy means being able to see different points of view. Points of view are ways of seeing. Each person sees the same thing differently. It's important to be mindful of different views. Put yourself in another person's place. Feel what they're feeling. See how they see things. You don't have to agree, but you have to understand that not everyone sees things the way you do. Practice learning about different points of view. Do this by reading a book or watch a movie. Identify the main character. Recall the story from the main character's viewpoint. Pick another character. Tell a story from that character's viewpoint. What changed? How did you see things differently? Okay, so an example of this, if you think about a book that everybody knows, like say The 3 Little Pigs, right? If you were going to tell the book from the pig story, obviously they're being abused by this wolf who's trying to eat them, right? But there's also another book out there called The Real Story of the 3 Little Pigs, told by the big bad wolf. And from his viewpoint, all he did was visit his neighbor to ask for sugar, and they overreacted and started running away, and he never meant to try to eat anybody. You know, this is his viewpoint, because I guess it's different. You know, he's trying to explain that he's not such a bad guy after all, and society has made him that way. They painted this horrible picture of the big bad wolf. But anyway, yeah. So that thinking of stories, that would be a way you could look at different viewpoints of the different characters. People have written whole other stories based on one character from one story's different viewpoint. If you ever want to write a children's book, you might want to think about doing that. Maybe write the story of Little Red Riding Hood from the wolf's point of view or something like that, right? Tip, imagine the main character of a well-known book or movie as a different gender or race. How would the story change? Female Thor, how about that? I don't know. Practice with a new friend. Take this opportunity to get to know somebody better. Introduce yourself. Make small talk. Small talk is talking about unimportant things. It helps set up deeper talks. An example topic is weather. Tell a story about your life. For example, talk about getting your first pet. Have your friend retell your story. Have your friend tell it from their point of view. From their viewpoint, sorry. Have your friend share feelings and thoughts. Switch. Listen to your friend's story. Retell your friend's story from your viewpoint. Talk about how you saw the same events. What did you have in common? What was different? Okay, so we're not really meeting new friends right now because of this coronavirus, but just imagine how viewpoints would be different if you had this conversation. Tip, think of a time when someone was mean to you. Put yourself in that person's place. See the situation from that person's point of view. I don't want to be in the bully's place, but okay, who knows? Maybe the bully was going through something that day and just felt like picking on somebody. Science connection. Some people have too much empathy. They care too much. They have hyper-empathy syndrome. A syndrome is a condition connected to a group of symptoms. People with hyper-empathy syndrome pick up every emotion around them. They lose themselves on other people's needs. They spend more time caring about others than themselves. They feel guilty for other people's pain. They get sick when others are unhappy. They don't know how to control their emotions. They can't stop crying. They get really mad. Having too much empathy is dangerous. It causes a lot of stress. It can make people tired. It leads to burnout. Burnout is when a person becomes exhausted or worn out. They can't handle their lives anymore. They can no longer function. That's why mindfulness is so important. We need to take care of ourselves. That way, we can take care of others better. Chapter 3, look for connections. Having empathy means feeling connected. Practice making connections. This can be hard. Instead of focusing on differences, focus on how we're the same. Focus on what we have in common. All humans need food, water, and shelter. Shelters are homes. All humans need love. Be mindful when you meet people. Keep an open mind. Say these things in your head. Just like me, this person wants to be happy. Just like me, this person wants to avoid pain. Just like me, this person has been sad. Just like me, this person has needs. Just like me, this person is learning to live a good life. Tip, think about something or someone you love. Imagine sending love and compassion. Focus on the warm feelings. There will be times when you meet new people. Take time to get to know each other. Take time to introduce yourselves. Take time to see what you have in common. Especially for those of you who are graduating, moving on to high school, you're going to be a lot of new people that you're going to be meeting in your classes next year. You want to definitely be that nice student who comes out and introduces themselves and says, how are you? What's your name? Make people feel welcome that you don't know. Try playing the I am game. Stand in a circle. Have a person stand in the middle. Have that person share a truth or fact about themselves. An example is, I am left-handed. Have people from the circle step into the middle if they share the same truth or fact. Have the person in the middle choose a new person. Play again. You can do this with your family at home if your parents don't mind taking a few minutes out. Maybe you might learn something new about your mom or your dad. Who knows? Okay. Tip, start saying we or us. Say I or me less often. Change your language, okay? If you're always saying I or me all the time, better?
No, good.
Okay, keep holding it. Sorry guys, technical difficulty. The camera seemed to be getting too bright for some reason. So I needed to fix that. Alright. What I was saying, if you're saying I or me all the time, you may come off as being like selfish. So you want to include other people in stuff that you say, I guess. Chapter 4, act it out. There's so much going on in the world today. The news is full of good and bad stories. Talking about current events is important. Current means happening right now. We need to be aware of what's happening. We also need to talk about our thoughts and feelings about these events. Think about a current event. Ask yourself, how might the people involved be feeling? How would I feel in their shoes? What can I do to help? Then act out the current event. Write a short play. Play the parts. Practice seeing the event from different points of view. Alright, I'm not going to ask you guys to write out a play, but you might think of some event going on in the news. If you want to try out this assignment, think about the different people involved and what they might be feeling, just like it said. One major event in the news that everybody is talking about right now is what the police officer did to that guy, and all the protests that are going on. How do you think the man felt who passed away as a police officer was holding him down? How do you think the peaceful protesters felt when they're marching on Washington, D.C.? How do you think the looters felt when they were looting places? And I don't know if the protests are connected to the looters, or if the looters are just taking advantage of the situation and stealing, you know? It's hard for me, in my mind, to connect going into a store and breaking through a window and taking iPhones with being justified in getting back to society for the death of a person. Anyway, it's a really complicated issue. If you if you don't want to talk about that because that's depressing stuff, then maybe something else. Or I think the first you could choose either to do this, or you could choose to write out how you empathize with those previous scenarios that we saw earlier, the divorce in the family, and those other two things I mentioned. Okay, tip. Watch several movies about the same event. Think about what you learned. What were the similarities and differences? Role-playing is a great way to practice empathy. Role-playing is acting out the part of a character. You have to pretend to be someone you're not. You have to change your behavior. You have to get into your character. Think about different situations. For example, think about a situation where a friend has hurt feelings. Play two roles. One role is the person needing support. The other role is the person with empathy. Think about how your character would respond to the situation. Use your own experiences to help you feel connected to the role. Recall moments when you felt the same emotions. Return to your real self. Think about what you would do in real life. Tip: make a chart of emojis. Include different emotions. Act out each emoji. That might be fun, like to do on Zoom or something. If we had a class, you could pick an emoji and try to act it out, and we could guess. Anyway, okay. Spotlight biography. Harriet Beecher Stowe lived from 1811 to 1896. She was an American writer. She's famous for writing Uncle Tom's Cabin. She published this in 1852. She wrote about how bad slavery was. She didn't like how slaves were treated on southern plantations. Plantations are large houses and farms. Stowe's book sold 4 million copies in its first 10 years. It changed how people thought about slavery. Stowe felt empathy for the slaves. She was inspired to write the book after her son died. Her son died at 18 months old. He died of sickness. His death caused Stowe great sadness. She felt bad for African American slave women whose children were taken away from them. She said, "It was at my son's bed and at his grave that I learned that what a poor slave woman may feel when her child is torn away from her." So because she felt this empathy for slave women who lose their children from being sold or by the slave owner. She wrote this book, which opened the eyes and made everybody, other people, feel the same empathy and sadness, which helped, I assume, to eventually stop slavery. Chapter 5, Be kind. Be mindful of the power of words. Words can make people feel strong. They can cause pain. They can heal. Get paper, cut out a big heart. Think of all the mean things that you've heard people say. Write them down on the heart. Each time you write something down, fold the paper. When you're done, unfold the paper. See the wrinkles? Try to rub the wrinkles out. What did you learn? The wrinkles can't be taken away. In the same way, mean words can't be taken away. They're like the wrinkles. You can heal, but the pain will always be there. So always be mindful of your words. Don't say things that are going to leave impressions in people that they will never forget, or that will hurt them deeply. Tip: do an act of kindness. Do it for someone you know, or do it for a stranger. Some people are treated unfairly. They're treated unfairly because they're different. If you see someone being treated unfairly, show empathy. Let people know that you see them. Let them know that you're an ally. An ally is a friend. Here are some ways you can help. Say something. Address the person who is in pain. For example, I saw that. Are you okay? Do you need to talk? Make sure the person doesn't feel alone. Speak up. Address the person who caused the pain. For example, say, I thought what you said was unfair. Imagine if someone said that to you. How would that make you feel? Tip: smile. Be open to new friends. See all these bullies over here? You could run up to them and say, hey, you're being unfair. Leave them alone. Right? That might help this little poor guy who's cowering by the lockers. Chapter 6, Solve Problems. Conflict is a part of life. Conflicts are fights or problems. Everybody has conflicts. Most conflicts start with mistakes. Most people don't really mean to hurt each other. Try to turn conflicts into learning moments. Practice empathy. Learn how to resolve a conflict. Learning how to resolve a conflict is an important life skill. Understand the reason for conflicts. Think about your role in the conflict. Consider these questions. What happened? What were you feeling or thinking before the conflict? What were you feeling or thinking during the conflict? What were you feeling or thinking after the conflict? Who has been affected by the conflict? How? What could you have done better? If you want to answer this question, and I'll give you a choice to answer any one of these questions that I've read from the book, you can choose this one too. If you want to describe a conflict that you had and answer these questions. What happened? What were you feeling or thinking before the conflict? What were you feeling or thinking during the conflict? Etc., etc. Just go back to the video and pause before I read the answers so you can write down the questions and answer them, and then post that below. Okay, tip. Describe your feelings using the weather. If you're worried and sad, you might say, dark clouds are in the sky. It's pouring rain. Okay, interesting. It's a bright, sunshiny day for me. All right. Always try to see conflicts from the other person's view. Think about details you may have missed. Consider these questions. What is the person feeling? What makes you think that? Why did the person participate in the conflict? What were the triggers? Triggers are things that set off the certain behavior. Meet with the person. Solve your conflicts together. Consider these questions. How did we hurt each other? What did we learn from talking to each other? How can we make things better? How can we make sure this doesn't happen again? Tip: create a peace table. This is where you can go to solve conflicts. Fun fact, studies have shown the benefits of reading fiction. People who read more fiction have more empathy. They can see themselves in the stories. They relate to the characters. They get lost in stories. Their attitudes and ideas change. So reading fiction makes us better people. The most popular fiction today is the Harry Potter series. The series has earned many world records. J.K. Rowling is the author of the Harry Potter books. She holds a world record for selling a fiction book the fastest within 24 hours. On July 21st, 2007, Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows went on sale. The book sold 8.3 million copies in 24 hours. About 345,833 books were sold each hour. Rowling holds another record. She's the highest paid children's book author. She's the first billion-dollar author. She's one of only 5 women who are self-made billionaires. Host your own mindfulness event. Feeling sad? Feeling happy? Feeling a lot of emotions? This might be the best time to host your own mindfulness event. Host a show empathy party. Step 1, figure out where you can host your party. You'll need space to spread out. Step 2, make invitations and get creative. Ask friends to help you. Send out the invitation. Step 3, plan your activities and get supplies. Okay. Shoe game. Everyone sits in a circle. Each person takes off a shoe. Put the shoe in the middle of the circle. Count to 3. Tell everyone to grab a shoe that is not their own. Have each person try to find the shoe's owner. The people will now be partners. You might have more than one partner. Shoe partners will learn what it's like to walk in the other person's shoes. Take turns interviewing each other. Ask questions that will help you learn more about each other. After 10 minutes, come back as a group. Have each person share something they learned about their partner. After they shared, they can return the shoe. Okay, this might be a fun activity we could have done in class, but you're not really going to have a large group of people if you do it with your family unless you have many brothers and sisters. Okay, let's look at the next one. Emotional charades. Hand each person 5 pieces of paper. Have each person write down 5 emotions. Write 1 emotion per paper. Fold the papers, put them in a jar. Have each person pull out a paper from the jar. Each person needs to act out the emotion. They can use body movements and words. Ask others to guess the emotion. Then talk about the emotion. Ask these questions. When do you feel this emotion? Does this emotion make you feel good or bad? How can we make ourselves feel better? Okay, you might choose to play this with your parents if they have time. Fun little game, acting out emotions, right? Let me know if you do in the comments below and how it went. And finally, worries, connections. Give everyone an index card. Have everyone write something that worries them. Tell them not to write their names. Shuffle the cards. Give out the cards. Sit in a circle. Have each person read the card. Have them share how they can relate to the card. Tell everyone they shouldn't feel alone in their worries. Say, we all have fears and worries. Ask, how can we help each other? Okay. And that was the end of the book. We have the glossary words here, which I will read once again to refresh our memory on new vocabulary we might have encountered in this book. Glossary. Affirm. To support or validate. Ally. A friend or supporter. Biases. Having preferences for ideas that may prevent you from giving an equal chance to other ideas. Conflict. Fight, problem, or argument. A fight, a problem, or an argument. Okay. Current. Happening right now. Emotions, feelings. Empathy. Feeling another person's emotions. Grudges. Bad feelings of resentment brought on when someone wrongs you. Interpret. To cut in before one's, sorry, that's interrupt. Interrupt. To cut in before one's turn. Mindful. Focusing one's awareness on the present moment to center the mind, body, and soul. Point of view, perspectives, or specific ways of seeing things based on position. Role playing. Acting out the part of a character. Shelter. A place that offers protection from bad weather or danger, such as a home. Small talk. Polite chatter about unimportant things like weather. Triggers. Things that set off a certain behavior. Okay, I hope you enjoy learning about empathy today. In this book, Stay Engaged, Practicing Empathy. Hopefully you will be a more empathetic person in life, because people like empathetic people. People who can relate to them and show their feelings. Showing your feelings is a very important thing. Some people get into a lot of trouble because they can't show feelings. They can't say sorry when they're wrong. They can't show an emotion when somebody's feeling bad. And that ends a lot of relationships. So we don't want people to have that problem. We want everybody to be able to express themselves and feel for other people. And I hope those give you good tips on doing that. All right. Have a wonderful Wednesday. It's my birthday. Happy birthday to me. June 10th. Okay, I'm 41. Hope you make it this far and this coronavirus thing clears up really quickly, because I miss you guys. All right, see you soon. Bye.